Alrighty, thought I'd give you a tour of the truck, and today we're going to talk a little bit about JB Hunt. There she is. It's a 2015 Coronado glider with, like I said, Series 60 in it. We're going to try to make this right. I'm pulling a JB Hunt box today. Got my tanks wrapped in Duracell. Then I've got some stack lights on it. And that's Patriot Hunts is a charity I work with, and then my airborne where I was in the Army, and then my numbers and whatnot. Run crossfires. That's all I got to do to check tire pressure. Just make sure it's in that line. I got one back here that's just a tad low. You see, it starts to show black a little bit. I put them stack lights on it. Right now I got them on party mode where they change the color. Normally going down the road I run them in red. They control right here. Here I got them on red. Of course the herd bumper. That ain't no joke right there. That's for deer and whatnot. And then around the other side, same thing. There's rock visor, add on. Red inside my intake pots. Spikes on the wheels. I took out my passenger seat, put in this box here where I keep all my hand tools and whatnot. But the other side of it's a desk. I'll show you that. Teeth. And I got Snoopy up on my nose. I had a Volvo. Put that Snoopy on him when I first started trucking. Thing's got over 250,000 miles on it. APUs on the other side. Y'all have seen APUs before. Don't need to show you that. Shut this truck off. Like I said, she's a straight pipe. And then jake brake. She's nice. Got a jake brake switch right here. Easy jake. I love it. Go down the road, run cruise control, flip it off, black on like that, turns on the jake brake, turns the cruise call. I got it wired to the clutch. So, anyway, shut the truck off, then we'll get to talking. Show you around the inside here. The lights in this truck was extremely dark, so I added 2 LED light strips up there, plugged them in on the dome light. That's how that works. But here's the other side of that toolbox. On the passenger side where the seat would be, got my little snacky cakes and whatnot. Got my printer back there, and then drinks, and keep my trash can up there. It's hard to see. Trash can up that way, and then coat and drinks and whatnot. I got a paper towel thing. It's out of paper towels right now, and some cubbies. Back over there on that shelf up yonder, got my coffee pot. Then down there my microwave, of course. It runs off that inverter that come with the APU. That top cabinet, she's got stuff in it. And then down there I keep a few straps and more drinks and whatnot. Go back there and set up my chair. I built that cabinet for it. Goes all the way across. The little cubbies, them little shoebox plastic things you get from Walmart. And I built that around it to hold 6 of them. Work like little drawers, got bungees across them, keep them from bouncing around. Had that little shelf up there recently. That's keeps all my clothes and chair and table and whatnot. And then this cabinet got my food, and I keep in the truck. And then a little refrigerator down there. And then that little drawer there slides out, makes a table. You can't see it. Anywho, thought we'd talk a little bit about JB Hunt and what I'm doing. Had somebody comment, wanting to know what I was doing with 360. And I'm not currently running JB Hunt 360. I really ain't. So, see me. Well, that ain't bad there. Alright, so like I said, I'm not a professional videographer. I don't run a camera for a living. Drive truck. So I got the laptop pulled up here. Thought we'd talk a little bit about JB Hunt. Now I don't run JB Hunt 360. I run their PCS program. It's a power only program they got. They've been advertising it for a year. I got another guy that runs it. He's on a different pay program than I am. He's getting paid $2 on a loaded mile, dollar on empty or deadhead miles, and then he gets fuel surcharge on top of that. My deal is they got a load board, and I get 85% of the load. So I get 85% of whatever that load board shows. 85% of the load, 85% of the fuel surcharge. I just get 85%. So it's pretty easy to figure. Load board's pretty intuitive. It's not as good as some, but it's better than others. Fairly easy to use, and I've been able to pre-plan out some trips and stuff. And then they give you a thing called a load coordinator, which is the same thing as a dispatcher, based I can tell. And they'll pick your loads for you, and you can run under that way. But as I'll explain later, that don't work out good for Richard. So they handed me that load board, and I was able to pre-plan my trips, get me a few days out, and then start looking. If you don't know how to run a load board, I'm going to give you a brief rundown on it. So you're here, you're looking at loads for your area. So you want to go to here, that's deadhead miles. And then your load is here, and then you go to your destination, those are loaded miles. And then you go from there to your next destination, and that's deadhead miles, and then loaded miles. And then there's, when I say all miles, that's loaded miles plus the deadhead miles is all miles to me. And then loaded miles is just whatever the load board says it is on the distance. That's what I consider loaded miles. They run it zip code to zip code, so there's going to be a few extra miles on every one of them, so you're never going to have a zero deadhead, even if you pick up and drop in the exact same place, which I'll show you that in a minute. That happened to me. But there's always going to be some deadhead miles, but I figure it. And when I talk dollars per mile to Richard, that's deadhead plus loaded. And then I also, that's money that's going to the truck after expenses, which is my factoring cost. Is about the only expenses I got. So we'll cover that in a little bit. Start off with them. Had to leave my house and then head down to Maxton, North Carolina, pick up an empty. And then from there, that's what you'll do. You'll go somewhere and get an empty, and you'll go do a drop and hook or a live load, and you get going. And then when you're done, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm waiting on them to tell me I'm done, ready to go home. They're convinced that I'm going to run another run. And I'm convinced I'm going to the house. So if you got to run going to the house, then okay. If not, then where are you on this trailer? And we'll talk about that in a little bit too. So they got me going. So I had to deadhead over to Maxton, which is about 30 miles from my house. Picked up an empty, took it up to Asheboro, North Carolina, and then I got going. From Asheboro, North Carolina, they sent me down to Mississippi, Quitman, and had drop and hook there. Spent the night in Quitman. Next morning, they had a load for me, but it was the closest thing I could find was in Memphis, Tennessee, which is pretty far. And deadheaded up there, and it was going almost to my house. And I had got real frustrated with them right then. They hadn't pre-planned me at all. Wound up sitting in Quitman, and I called them and said, "Hey, what am I doing?" They said, "We're going to find you a load." And then that was at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I kept calling back about every 2 hours, "What am I doing? What am I doing?" Never did get no damn answer. They said, "Well, you're pre-planned for a load. We're looking for a load for you right now." So, I mean, what do? You go to sleep, because they're going to send you an email. And when they send me an email, my phone just goes ding. And if I'm asleep, I ain't going to hear that. So about 2 in the morning, I called them mad and said, "Well, am I going to get a load or not?" And they said, "Well, to be honest with you, Richard, we're not going to have nothing tonight. It'll be in the morning when your load coordinator comes in." I was like, "Well, why in the hell didn't you tell me that at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock this afternoon?" Because he gets off at 5:30. And I don't blame him for being off, but a damn heads up would have been nice. Because I sat there for 8 hours, twiddling my damn thumbs, waiting on this load that's supposedly popping in, and nothing. So I was pretty mad about that. And then the next morning, he gave me the load, says you got to go to Memphis to pick up. Go to Memphis, Tennessee, from where I was at, was pretty far. And then the load was 700 some odd miles, and it were down to junk rates. And I'm like, well, I got junk rates getting down here. Now, I sat for overnight for no reason, because I normally like to drive at night. And so I got there, and I was ready to go. And it just aggravating. And I was done with them at the rates and stuff. And usually you get a new hire on, they're going to give you all the candy or gravy or whatever you want to call it. And if that was candy and gravy, I didn't want nothing to do with the meat and potatoes. So talked to that guy that had put me on. It was the recruiter, and told him my frustrations. And he said, "Well, what if I just give you the load board and you pre-plan yourself?" I said, "Well, I'll give that a shot." And the reason I was doing it, I run groceries for a customer direct normally, and that slowed way down after Thanksgiving. And I've been seeing this JB Hunt, and it'd be nice to know what it's going to be. So it was a good time to get out and give it a test. So that's what I was doing. So I tried their load board thing for the next few days, and it worked a lot better because I could pre-plan myself. And I was submitting for loads, 4 or 5 loads at a time, so I can project out. I actually did 4 loads the first time I submitted. Said I want these 4 loads, and he gave them to me. And then the next time I asked for them, he got the first one, but not the second. And then it worked out, where I could pre-plan myself, which was great. But doing all that, come today, which is Monday, on Friday, I told him, said, "Look, when I get to Tennessee, I'm done. Where do you want your trailer?" And he emailed me back, and that dispatcher, I'm gonna call him a dispatcher, but he don't phone call, none ever. So he emails. He's new school. I don't much care for that, but I emailed him and said, "Look, when I get to Tennessee, I'm done. Where do you want your trailer?" And he said, "We're gonna find you a load." Well, got to be 5:30 by the time he got ready to get off. I said, "Look, I deliver that thing Monday morning early. Where are you gonna want this trailer?" Because I didn't want to be just sitting. And he emailed me back and said, "We're gonna find you a load." And I said, "Well, what if we don't?" He said, "We'll cross that bridge when we get to it." And I was like, "We're pretty much fucking there, ain't we?" And then I got his out of office reply. Well, I didn't say fucking, but I said, "We're pretty much there because it's 5 o'clock and you don't have a load for me. And I deliver at 5 in the morning, Monday morning. So if I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm going to wind up being setting." Well, true to word, I delivered this morning at 5 o'clock, and at 7:30 I was done. And here it is now, 8 o'clock, and I'm sitting here just twiddling my thumbs, don't know what to do. So that's aggravating. I don't like working that way, and I'm going to request a different load coordinator if I come back to it. But I'm going back to my groceries. They're ready for me. So let's talk a little bit about rates on JB Hunt loads. Like I said, I'm going to explain it to you once on how I'm breaking it down, and then I'm just going to go through it. So that first trip, I had deadhead, total of 140 miles, had 765 miles, 785 miles total miles, and their rate was $13.06.30, which the loaded rate on that's $1.97. But with my deadhead and whatnot, and then the number I'm gonna give you now is my true money. So after deadhead and factoring, it paid me $12.70.38, and out of 785 miles, which paid me $1.62 a mile, which some people think is a good rate. I do not. My overhead is $1.21 a mile. Cost me $1.21 to move my truck 1 mile. Cost me. So that means I ran that run for 41 cents a mile, and that's company driver pay. And I ain't in it for company driver pay. Besides all that, I have more expenses on taxes than company driver. So that ain't a good rate. Well, then they found me that run out of Memphis. So I wound up having 253 miles deadhead on that thing. Paid me $14.16 for 1,001 miles, which you could do the math on that. That's $1.41, which is junk. And then I was done. That's when I switched over and started doing the load board myself. So doing it their way. Let me fix this right quick. Doing it their way, I got paid for all miles that I done $1.35 a mile. No, that ain't right. I got to take that out too. So that would have put me about 10 miles from, or about 20 miles from the house. So that would have paid me $1.52 for every mile that I put on the truck. That's gross. And then after expenses and whatnot, which is my factoring, it come out to $1.49 a mile. That's not good money. So then I jumped on their load board and started doing my planning, and that's what I wound up getting. So I went from Hope Mills, North Carolina up to Greensboro, took that up next to Chicago. That was kind of the best run I could find to get me in kind of that area where freight was kind of good. Well, it's good rates up there. There's some good rates out of Georgia. The south is kind of the northeast coming out is bad on JB Hunt. Going in is really good. But if you stay in that Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri region, you can do pretty good with it. We got, let's see, went from Greensboro to down there next to Chicago, 899 total miles, 160 of that was deadhead, so that paid me $1.89 a mile, which is still, man, but you'll see why I went up there now. From Detroit, or not Detroit, from Chicago, went down to Hazelwood, Missouri, which is St. Louis area. That one paid me, after everything, $3.38 a mile on 315 miles, $1,000 a day. The next run that I picked out was going from, say I delivered from South Elgin, Illinois to, it's called Hazelwood, which is basically a suburb of St. Louis. I had a pickup in Hazelwood, which I picked up. I did a dropping hook. The same place I went to is where I picked up. So there should have been no deadhead, right? Wrong. It was 21 miles of deadhead, or actually 2 miles of deadhead on that one. So, I mean, they were a little off on their math, or they do zip code to zip code, and that's why it's off a little bit. But I had 2 miles of deadhead, 222 miles total. Paid me $2.35 a mile. When I say it's paying me, like I said, that's deadhead plus load miles is total miles divided by the money after factoring is what it's paying me. Get into factoring a little bit. RTS called them up, said JB Hunt's offering a 1.5% quick pay. They I asked him if they'd match it. Of course, he did. Tucker with RTS, he takes care of me real good. He's got it all set up. Had to do some document signings and whatnot, and hold on my invoices just a few days to get it all worked out. But I mean, he cut my 1% off my factoring fee, which is $10 on 1,000. So if you're talking $5,000, that's $50. I mean, $50 is $50. But so they matched it out. So now we get back into our runs. So that put us back in Hazelwood, going to Owensburg, Kentucky. Where's this and that? Owensburg, Kentucky. Yeah, that was the 220 miles we was just talking about. After that, went from Owensburg, Kentucky over Madisonville, Kentucky, which was 77 miles of deadhead, 344 miles loaded. Paid me $2.93 a mile for $1,000 a day. Then I went up to Marion, Ohio, or went to Marion. No, that was Madisonville to Fairfield, Ohio. So in Ohio, right there above Columbus, is a little town called Lima. And my customer down in the North Carolina area has a hub up there in Lima. And I thought I'd get up there and run some of their stuff because they've been posting it pretty regular on the day of the week that I was working my way back to Columbus. So I thought I'd be up there, but it just didn't pan out. So I went back on the load board and planned out a couple more days worth of trips. And then I started looking back getting home because I'm going home for Christmas. I'm going to take 21 days off. It's the biggest break I take in the year. I take 5 days off at Thanksgiving, take 5 days off at 4th of July, and then a day here and there. But for the most part, I'm on the down road. My wife will tell you that. In September, I was home for 19 hours. So that gives you an idea. But that run to Fairfield, Ohio, deadheaded up to Marion, Ohio, which was 152 miles total deadhead for a 605-mile trip. This is where we got into some money. That put me on $3.92 a mile. Coming out of there down to Tennessee, which is going to put me close to home. Got paid $2.51 a mile to run 594 miles total, 151 miles deadhead, which puts our totals $10,000 from 2 December to today, which is the 14th. 2 December to the 14th of December, we ran for money to Richard after factoring and everything. Well, we'll just start with the big number. Gross to revenue for the truck was $11,824 and some change. I had factoring fees of $193, which put me down to $10,843 and some change on 5,000 miles, paying me $2.16 a mile. Now, if we take out them first two trips, and then delete that and put in my deadhead to get my trailer, that would have put me, I know my battery's running low, that would have put me 3,200 miles for $8,000 to Richard, dollars per mile. And this is getting me plumb back to the house. Deadhead home from here is 250 miles. That puts me at $250 a mile. To me, my money. Um, after uh, I can't think. After factoring fees, that's $250 a mile to me. Gross revenue is $2.77 to the truck, $2.77 a mile. So there's money to be made at this JB Hunt stuff, but you got to demand that load board out of the gate, and pre-plan yourself. Because if the dispatchers up there, they don't get paid a percentage of what you make. They get paid a flat rate, so they're just trying to put you on the next run and go. They don't care. They don't look at it. You're gone. So we'll talk detention a little bit. I filed for detention on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of my runs. Detentions where you're at a place longer than 2 hours. They pay $50 an hour after that, up to 5 hours, and then you qualify for layover, which is $250 a day. So your first day, if you're set for 6 hours or more, it pays $500. But if you're sitting there for 2 days, it's $250 a day after that. So hopefully, God, you ain't sitting somewhere for 2 days. I did file for some detention. Now my numbers don't include none of that money. Just so we're talking rates. I'll get some of that. I know I ain't gonna get a couple of these, so I'm gonna go ahead and take them out and tell you what my real number is. After my detention and stuff, I know I ain't gonna get that $500 because I was there. I got there a day early, and they went ahead and took me, and then they didn't have it empty. I wound up sitting there for 10 hours waiting on the damn empty. So we're gonna take that one out. They're probably not gonna pay that one. They are going to pay Toby Hanna's. They are going to pay the Hazelwood one. Okay, so that gives me my detention money of $225 for 3 different days that I actually earned detention. The other days, I was there early. They took me early, but I couldn't get out. One spot had a damn empty, but they wouldn't give it to me. Had to wait for we're going to get into this now. So you got your day shift crew at JB Hunt, and they know what they're doing. And then they got the night shift crew, which they're not as good. I'm not going to say they don't know what they're doing, but they're not as good. They get you answers quickly, but if it's a situation like, well, they don't have an empty here, what am I supposed to do? They said, well, we'll try to find you an empty, and then you get shuffled down the list. They ain't got but a couple of them working at night, and if you got problems with JB Hunt and it's getting to be 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you better get it solved then. Or you're going to be doing just what I'm doing right now, sitting here twiddling your damn thumbs, waiting for somebody to show up that can give you an answer. Because I've already called JB Hunt, and they said, well, we don't see any loads in your area. I'm like, well, where do you want this trailer? Well, we really don't know. I'm like, day shift comes in at what time? So anyway, you got to work out a lot of stuff on your own. Like in Owensboro. So I was there, got unloaded. I was there early. They took me. It was supposed to be dropping hook, but they didn't have any empties. And then they had empties, but they didn't want to give them away. The day shift people for the place I was at said that they couldn't release the one empty that I had found. I found an empty on the yard, went to hook to it, and then tried to take it, but the gate guard said it's got to be released by ops, so I had to go back up there, and they said, we ain't got no empties. I said, well, there's one behind my truck. And give them the trailer number. And guy looked it up and says, well, that one's scheduled to be loaded at 7 o'clock in the morning. Like it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, I brought you a load. You'll have it empty if you just take the stuff off the trailer I brought you. There wasn't no talking to that man. And he was hateful and he didn't want to help. So I went and put that empty back where I got it from, and then parked. You can stay there a couple hours, and I just kind of sit there and wait on JB Hunt tell me what to do. And then I got to look, and you can see inside that ops office. I seen that dude packed up his stuff and left, and somebody new would sit down there. So I thought, we're going to go give this a shot. So JB Hunt's trying to work and get me an empty and do all this, and they're telling me that I'm probably going to have to stay there tonight. And so I walked back in that ops section and said, hey, I'm with JB Hunt. I need an empty. She said, well, she looks on her computer, and she said, well, we ain't got no empties. I said, well, trailer number 66331 is empty. It's sitting right there. Can I have it? So she looks it up and says, well, it's showing it's supposed to be loaded, but it's not going to be loaded till 7 in the morning. She said, are you sure it's empty? Because it's showing it loaded. And I was like, no, ma'am, that trailer's empty. She said, well, go double check, make sure it's empty. And if it is, just bring it around front, and we'll look in it, and we'll send you on down the road. So I went and hooked back up to the same damn trailer, come around there, and I took pictures of the box empty where you can see the trailer number on the inside. Took that in there and showed it to her. Said, "Look, you ain't gonna walk out there. I can show you that trailer's empty." She said, "Is it sitting right there?" She said, "Yeah." So she pulled up her computer, so she kind of looking at her screens. I guess she looked on the camera and seen it was empty. She said, "All right, you can have that one." So down the road I went. So I solved my own problems, and I try to do that. I mean, I don't want to be a burden to somebody, but the best way to solve a problem is to find a solution yourself and get at it. So that's what I done. Should I took that trailer? I don't know. It ain't gonna affect me. I mean, I ain't gonna. I got my empty and I was gone, so it worked out for me. It worked out for them because they had trailers they could get empty if they had to have one. So it didn't hurt nobody. I don't know why that guy wouldn't get it to me. He's just hateful. So that covers that. I was sitting here twiddling my thumbs, waiting on my fucking email to ding, so Richard could know where to drop his empty off, so he can go to the house. The place I was at was a live unload. Most of the places, it's on the load boards. You can tell if it's going to be a live load, live unload situation because it gives you a specific time to be there. It'll say 0500 to 0500 on 14 December. So that means they're going to load it live. If it's got a 24-hour window, that usually means dropping hook. Not always, of course. I'm not going to say every time, but like when I went to Whirlpool, it had a window, 24-hour window, and I got there and it was a live load, and I wound up sitting there forever. They're going to wind up paying that detention. I feel confident. That's $175. I feel confident that detention's actually going to pay. But money after detention, total miles still 5,000, 15 miles at $227 a mile. To Richard, gross revenue to Richard was $236. So that, you know, the difference between them two numbers is my factoring cost. If I take out them first two trips, the JB Hunt, add in the deadhead miles that I would have done anyway, that comes out to $273 gross. That's with the detention pay that I'm going to get, and then there's more detention. I filed for some that I probably won't get because I showed up early and they didn't have nothing ready for me. And I showed up early on another one. They put me in the door, and then it took forever to get unloaded. But I feel confident, and I'll get some of that detention, and I feel confident on two of them that probably get denied. I'll fight it, and then, you know, I'll take the loss, but I'll file for it. Maybe JB Hunt's a big enough corporation, and invoice people get it, and they said, okay. I create my own invoices. JB Hunt had one. It was just a plain white piece of paper, and it had it lines out, which is what I'm going to get into now. When you get done with a run, you know, you got your bill of lading and the customer, the receiver's signature on it. If you're going to file for detention, the times have got to be on it and either signed off by whoever. And if they don't want to sign your times, which I had one didn't want to do that, you just write on it, refuse to sign, and write your arrival and departure time, put the load number on the BOL, and that's it. So I use my printer here. I scan in my BOLs, put them on a PDF format, and then I create my invoice, put it into a PDF format, and then you upload both those documents to JB Hunt, and that's all they require for proof of delivery. Then I take that, the BOL, they call it a tender. I call it a rate con. That's just the terms I'm familiar with. Which is a rate contract, or rate confirmation is a rate con, tells you how much you're going to get paid on this run if nothing comes up. And then there's so you got your invoice, your rate con, and your proof of delivery, or your bill of lading, which is your proof of delivery. So you put those three things together, you email that to RTS, and they send you money 24 hours later. That's how that works. I don't know how the JB Hunt pays out, how quickly or not. I don't use that service. I use my factoring company. So talk a little bit about per mile. My expense to operate is $1.21 a mile. That's how much it costs to move my truck 1 mile is $1.21. So if I want 60 cents a mile paid me, I need stuff to be paying $80.81 to Richard. That's paying myself 60 cents a mile, which by the time you figure out taxes with your extra overhead of payroll tax, you know, that really brings you down closer to 50 cents a mile real pay if you was a company driver for yourself. And that's, you know, I ain't driving for less than that. I didn't get in this to be a company driver, and I don't expect to be paid as a company driver. I look for $2 a mile or better, which pays me $2 a mile, pays me 79 cents. And I'm kind of happy with that. I'd rather be up there close to $1 a mile to the pocket, and that's where I'm at with about everything that I do. So I don't mind taking a junk rate now and again, but they gave me them 2 runs, and that was supposed to be, they're new and they're breaking me off and get me some good money up front, try to hook me in. And I thought of candy and gravy is $1.61 a mile. I don't need to see the damn meat and potatoes. And that load board did have some junk on it, but they had several pretty good rates about where I was, and you pick out the top 3 that's going to pay the best to you. They're going to pay real good on short stuff, but you look for those runs. I look for $1,000 a day. That's what I'm after on gross revenue, is $1,000 a day. So there'll be probably 4 of those in every big area you're in within a 150-mile bubble, and then you see where that load's going, and then you see what's in in that area coming out, and then you pick out a couple of those, and then you just formulate your plan that way. And if you're trying to get home, you start at the end and work your way back. What's bringing it into Fayetteville, North Carolina. All right, so what's the top paying? So what's coming into there? And then you can work your way backwards in time to get you where you're at. Always leave yourself, some wiggle room. It's best if you can deliver today and leave tomorrow. If you got a real early delivery like I did this morning, if you had a 5 a.m. delivery, you'd probably be all right picking you up something for the afternoon. But you never know when you deliver somewhere what's going to happen. Like if I cut my timeline extremely short and then I got up to the Whirlpool and had to sit for 5 hours, then that could throw up my whole day, screw up my whole day. Because you pre-plan all you want to, but a plan works real good till you get punched in the face. That's that boxing analogy, and it's true. So work your load boards, figure out your routes, pre-plan, do all you can, and don't put yourself in no bind. And if you do that, you can run JB Hunt and do decent. I ran from 2 December through 14 December. I grossed $11,000. So that's a couple days shy of 2 weeks. Did have 2 34s in there. I pre-planned them in because some of the runs that I wanted to do were had a day layover between them, because I could sit a day and be all right and pick up a $1,500 day the next day, or I can run a $600 day today. And I was just like, well, I'd be better off. That's 2 $750 days versus 1 $600 day, and then maybe $1,000 on the other side. And then I come out, well, no, it was going to be a $400 day and a $1,000 day, or I could sit and get a 34 in and do a $1,500 day. So that worked out to $750 a day, and $1,500 gross revenue is better than $1,400 gross revenue on the same miles. So that's how I picked out my 34. And if some of this don't make sense, I'm sorry. You can ask specific questions, and I'll try to give you specific answers in the comment section. But I believe that's going to do it for this one. We've been on here about a half hour, so I'm done. I'm headed